Hi, I'm Mark, and this is Let's Vibe, the channel that's all about crystals and your feelings. So it's been few weeks now since I last did a video. Part of that's because I took a trip to the East Coast, and that was awesome. And then immediately after I got back, my phone broke, and I was kind of forced into this 10 days. It took 10 days to get a new phone. And so I was forced into this 10 days of like hermit hermit mode. um which was uncomfortable, especially at the very beginning. You know, I don't need to explain how intimately involved our phones are in our lives these days. So it was uncomfortable at first, but actually it ended up being a really good thing because, I mean, it was like being shoved into a hermit cave and being without any chimes, any bells, no notifications. Just a lot of quiet time. But it was a good thing. It was like a refresher. So now that I have my new phone, I wanted to start off with a new video specifically focusing on the process of finding a crystal that's right for you and connecting with that crystal. So I've spent a lot of time on this channel already talking all about the vibrations and qualities and characteristics of many different crystals, but how do we actually connect with these stones, and how do we find one that connects with us? Because it's kind of a two-way street. So, of course, the first step is just going to a crystal shop or your local metaphysical store, any kind of store that sells stones and crystals. And what's important, as with all things in this field, in the metaphysical field, intuition. Intuition is key to finding a crystal that is right for you. So when you go to a crystal shop, and when I go to one, I like to make sure that I'm in tune with my intuition. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be in like some deep meditative state. But just take a moment, tune in to how you're feeling on the inside, and take a moment to listen. What are you being led towards? Do you have a stone already in mind? Is there a stone that's been popping up in your mind lately? Or one that you saw or read about that really caught your interest? What is your inner voice telling you? And then what I like to do next is to clear my aura. And what's fun is that, a lot of crystal shops have samplers of aura clearing sprays. Some shops offer, well, there's one shop in Honolulu that has incense, a place for kind of like a little altar space where they burn incense, and customers can light an incense stick for themselves. But most often they have clearing sprays of some kind. and you can test them out. And so I grab, I'll take the Palo Santo spray or the sage spray and just do a quick mist around the aura and just cleanse my energy so that, and this is to help you be more clear about the energies around you and the energies that you're connecting with in the stones. It also gives you more clarity with your intuition. And, Palo Santo and sage, these are also protective substances. I was about to say herbs, but Palo Santo is not really an herb, it's a wood. Anyway, they're protective. And then I start wandering around the shop and just checking out the different stones. And if there's a stone I already have in mind, I'll go to that one. And often in these shops, stones, the small tumbled stones will be in little bowls. And I'll rifle through or sort through the stones in the bowl. And the reason I'm sorting through is because I'm really looking for a stone that I feel some kind of connection with. And it's all about what you're feeling when it comes to connecting with these stones. So I look through all the stones that are available, and what'll happen is I'll come across one that just grabs my eye, just very subtly. These are usually pretty subtle feelings. So you really need to pay attention, but I'll come across one that grabs my eye just a little bit or kind of tugs on my intuition a little bit. Maybe it's the color of the stone, of the particular piece. Maybe it's the shape, or just purely the energy of the piece. And that's how I like to find a stone that I know is going to work for me, because if you feel that spark, if you feel that little tug on your intuition, that's a sign that the stone resonates with you and you resonate with it. But definitely it's not always just about the feeling. Sometimes just the shape of a piece can really grab your attention, or the color. Because, in those bowls, it's a mix. It's a mix of lower quality stones and higher quality stones. And so you want to take the time to find a good quality stone that actually resonates with you. I remember when I first bought, like back in 2018, when I first bought my very first tumbled crystals. I bought some very small stones, some rose quartz, and I think a red garnet, or a few, like kind of a random selection of stones. But those first few times that I bought stones, I realized that I had picked out stones that didn't really resonate with me. And I mean like the specific piece that I had chosen. I had chosen a piece that just I didn't really connect with, and so I didn't really use it. And so I learned just through trial and error that you really got to pay attention to your inner voice, to tell you and to guide you towards the pieces that are going to work for you. And you may also notice that sometimes you come across stones that repel you. Now, this is interesting. Why would a stone repel you, or why would you feel like you're being pushed away from a particular stone? It could be a couple different things. The first thing that it could be is that some stones are major healing stones, like malachite. And by major, I mean like very deep transformative healing. And a stone like that is probably not going to resonate well or connect well with a beginner. I guess, you know, I'm talking to and for the beginner here. And so if you're a beginner at this, if you're just starting out with crystals, you may find that some of these very powerful healing and transformational stones can push you away. And personally, I think it has to do with the fact that you're not ready. You're not ready for that vibration, that level of energy. You're not ready for that kind of healing. It would be too upsetting to try to work with a stone like that. So definitely pay attention. If you're feeling pushed away, that's a sign that that stone might not be right for you at that moment. It could change in the future if you take your time to work with stones, if you practice this, that could change. So like with malachite, for a while I didn't want to touch malachite. I didn't want to work with malachite. It just seemed a little bit too intense, a little too heavy. But eventually I felt drawn to it, and I found a piece that I really resonate with. Another reason that a stone can repel you is perhaps that particular crystal just does not vibe well with your aura, with your etheric energy fields. So for example, I do not feel, and I have never felt drawn towards black onyx. I have no attraction towards black onyx. When I look at it, when I touch it, I don't feel any kind of connection. It feels like it's just not the right stone for me. And black onyx is not the only one. Another one that I've really have never felt much of a connection with is celestite. I don't know why. I just don't really experience any kind of vibe with celestite. So I haven't bought those stones. I've never worked with those stones. Yeah, so not every stone is going to be right for you. And some stones are also too high vibration for the level that you're at now. If you're a beginner, stones like moldavite, I know that's so popular these days, but moldavite is high vibration. Phenakite, if you happen to come across that one, that's a lot rarer. What's another high vibration? Oh, well, for me, rutilated quartz. Rutilated quartz is pretty high vibration. And when I first tried working with rutilated quartz, it was so uncomfortable. I really couldn't use it very much because the vibe, the energy was just so intense for me. And my own energy was just not at that level. I even felt that way with clear quartz. For a long time, I didn't really work with clear quartz because I felt the energy was a little bit too high and too fast moving for me as a beginner. So let's say you've found the right stone, you connect with it, you know it's the right one for you. What next? Well, you take it home, and what you want to do is activate the stone. And I've got one of my agates here just for demonstration purposes. But when you activate a stone, it's basically just speaking over it, stating your intentions out loud with the stone. For example, I would say something like, may this agate be for the highest good of all, for my highest good. May it be helpful for grounding and spiritual guidance and what have you. But you're stating out loud what you want to use the stone for, what your intentions are, and what you would like the stone to do in your own life. And that activates it. And then you want to cleanse it and charge it. And the easiest way I find to do that is putting it on a windowsill in the sunlight or the moonlight and just letting it sit and charge and cleanse. Now, one other thing that I've one of the things I've noticed when working with stones, especially new stones that I just bought, I've often found that, for the first day or two, I might be vibing with the stone, I'm meditating with it, carrying it in my pocket, getting familiar with it. And then I notice, like, quiet. And I'm talking like an energetic quiet. And the stone kind of goes silent in a way. And I feel like it's like, is this thing on? And what I have found is that stones and crystals need some time to acclimate shortly after you bring them home from a shop or wherever. Stones, I think it makes sense because a stone is, a very dense object, and it's been sitting in the ground for a few million years, few 100 million years in some cases. It needs some time just to acclimate to the new surroundings, your energy, the energy of your home, where you live. And so often what happens is shortly after I buy a stone, I end up leaving it on my windowsill for like a little while, if, maybe a week, but often longer, a month. It really, again, it all comes down to your intuition. What are you feeling? What kind of vibe are you getting from the stone? So sometimes I'll leave the stone there for a month and I won't touch it. And then all of a sudden I remember it and I go back and pick it up and it's alive. It's awake and I'm able to work with it. But the time really varies depending on the stone, depending on you. But I think it's really important to give your stones that time to acclimate, because it's not going to work if you try to force it. It's not going to do its job if it's not given the time that it needs. And yeah, you want to definitely pay attention. If you feel like the stone suddenly went dead right after buying it, it's a good sign that it just needs some time alone, time to get comfortable with its new surroundings. Now, let's say all of that is done. The stone has been with you for a month or longer. however much time it needed, and now you're comfortable with it, it's comfortable with you. Now what? Well, now comes the getting to know each other. And this is where, the real crystal work begins with a particular stone. But you want to just continue working on connecting with the piece. And there are many ways to do that. One way is just sitting with it, meditating, taking note of all the different ways that the stone affects your feelings and your energy. Carrying it in your pocket if it's a pocket-sized stone. And just seeing what you can do with it and how it affects you. But there's more ways that you can improve that connection. And one of those ways is just by feeling your stone, physically touching it. So like with this agate has a lot of little divots, some holes, a lot of curved edges. It's very textured. And a great way to strengthen your connection with your crystal is really feeling all of the textures of the stone. Even if it's a smooth, polished, tumbled stone, feeling it with your fingers, feeling every bit of it, every edge, every little surface imperfection. Again, a stone is a very dense physical thing, and so having that physical connection is really, really helpful. And honestly, in my experience, just taking time to touch the stone, it really improves your connection with it significantly. Another way of improving and strengthening your connection with a stone is pay attention to the shape. Pay attention to the colors, the patterns. Colors and shapes have meaning, they have significance, they have their own particular vibrations. So this agate is a very light bluish white. And so what characteristics or qualities are associated with light blue or white? What does this agate look like? Like, what is this shape? It's almost like an egg shape, but not quite. It's kind of amorphous. It actually reminds me of a slug a little bit, which is fitting because agate is very slow moving stone. It's very slow energy. But what is the shape? What does it remind you of? What does it make you think of? What does the stone look like to you? That can create a very powerful connection with your stone. What are the patterns? Do you have circular patterns? Is it striped? What do those patterns look like? What are there pictures within the patterns that you can see? The stone in its physicality can really tell you a lot about its energy and vibration and what it can help you with. As you do these things, as you spend more time with the stone, you uncover and discover new ways to work with it and new ways in which it can be helpful in your life. And one last way of connecting is by imagining yourself within that particular stone. So if I imagine myself within this agate, like inside this cavity, it looks like a little cavern. So I can imagine myself sitting inside here. And it sounds silly, but really it gives you like an immersive kind of experience where you're surrounded by the crystal. if you have a piece of rose quartz, you can imagine sitting or standing within that rose quartz, and what would it feel like to be completely surrounded by rose pink quartz. It's a little more immersive mentally, and it can just help boost that energetic connection. And lastly, I want to say, pay attention to, well, it's much like, when you first buy the stone and the stone goes quiet, but pay attention to when the energy of your stone dissipates, because that's a sign that your stone needs to be recharged and cleansed before it can be used again. So you really want to pay attention. What is the vibration that your stone is giving you? Is it telling you that it's tired and needs to be given some rest? Is it telling you that it's clogged with low vibrations and harmful energies? A lot of stones absorb negative energy, and so if they've absorbed too much, they become clogged and they can start spitting out random energies at you. But of course, it's all a very intuitive experience. So those are the tips that I have for finding a stone that works for you and connecting with that stone. As always, leave your comments and questions down below. And once again, thank you so much for vibing with me.